Well, thanks so much, Rebecca, for joining me. I know you've got a lot going on in your life, so I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. I'm excited to support artists in this way and talk about what Searles Place is doing right now to further our mission.
Well, sometimes when we talk about this era that we're in and all the businesses that are struggling, we forget that there are also nonprofits, and those include ones for artists as well, like Searles Place, that find themselves in a difficult situation as well. Could you talk a little bit, because of course you have events and you have residencies, about how this shutdown has affected Searles Place?
At Searles Place, we really do believe that shared art experiences build stronger individuals, stronger friendships, stronger communities. And so for us, we just knew we had to keep doing what we do, even if that meant moving online. Art is something that helps us feel like we're not alone and like we're together. And I know that because of technology, we could see what other people are making. We could be inspired by that. We could be comforted by that. We could be excited by that, even if we have to stay in one place.
So you've got a project called Panorama, which is to at least fill the gap with the time that we're in now. Maybe it'll continue. Explain a little bit about what it is.
Sure. We have done a call to artists, whether they're amateurs or professional, to submit the work that they're creating during this crisis. The amateurs will be featured in an online gallery on our site, and also some of them will be featured in the Idaho Press Tribune on Sundays. And the professionals are submitting, and they will be featured in a gallery on our site, and their work will be available for purchase as well. And so the idea of a panorama is that if you pivot and turn your body, you get to see a whole lot more than if you just stood still and looked at your feet. And so this was an idea to see what other people are making. And, you know, one thing we do at Searles Place that we're really proud of is that we serve artists of lots of different career levels and lots of different ages. So we might have a workshop in our studio where someone is 10 is sitting next to someone who is an established 70-year-old, artist. And we really like that we serve those people. And so this project in particular, we have a section that's just for amateur artists, regardless of age, and a section for professional artists, artists who intend to sell their work, who have a presence in the community as professional artists. And we've published already, and there's a 6-year-old, Zoe, who made an amazingly beautiful piece of work, and then a woman who declined to state her age, but is of an older age, who is stuck at home and is making very beautiful illustrated botanicals that are just gorgeous.
Well, let's talk about some of these pieces. You mentioned the 6-year-old Zoe Milligan. She has done a piece called Danger Shark. I love this. And of course, somebody else did too, because it made it into the paper. Talk a little bit about this and how it might reflect the time that we're in as well, from a child's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we feel all of us, no matter how secure we might be in our point on the planet, and some of us aren't, there's this danger lurking. And so we might feel beautiful and powerful in our lives if we're lucky, but there is danger everywhere and we just can't see it. And so this little girl sort of captured in the most beautifully bright colors this idea that danger is lurking and that we're all on high alert, essentially.
It's a mermaid who's trying to get away. I think that's just really interesting. I think she will. I think she'll make it.
I think she will too. Zoe is quite a character.
So let's talk about another piece Susan Lohman Thomas did that made it into the paper as well. She, by her own admission, is a senior citizen, has some compromised health issues, but that didn't stop her from making really, really lovely piece that's reflective of something going on outside, even though she has to stay inside. Talk a little bit about this piece and what you like about it.
Sure. I mean, this is sort of the perfect example of panorama. She's stuck in one place, but she's letting us see what she can see from her vantage point. And outside her windows, spring is springing, and she used botanicals outside to create these beautiful illustrations that ultimately ended up in this accordion book that is very beautiful. She's also a poet. And it's a good reminder that right now, despite the danger lurking, despite the shark, there are lots of beautiful things growing and happening. And though she wishes she wasn't stuck in place, she's still enjoying her place on the planet.
So there's another piece, this time by a professional artist who submitted to Panorama, Jessie Swimley. And at first glance, you wouldn't think it had any relationship to the time that we're in. But the statement that accompanied it, I thought was really interesting. The piece is called Fence Post. And
Yes.
she talks about how fence posts are generally spaced 6 to 8 feet apart, which is kind of how we're living now to have social distancing. So
Right.
there's a connection there. And also kind of this outside the fence, inside the fence. Again, maybe a little danger lurking and trying to keep things outside the fence.
She really was taking the metaphor to a pretty logical place, which is that right now borders are very important in terms of the space that we inhabit. And she notes in her artist statement that she thinks that, you know, these borders, these fences that we're putting up are probably going to benefit all of us. Even if at the end we're a little battered and a little crooked, we'll come out on the other side and eventually be able to cross those fences.
Well, let's talk about the last work here, also submitted by a professional. And it's kind of a work in progress, which is, it is a work in progress, which I think is neat that she's submitting it anyway. Definitely reflective of the time. It's about depression, about not being able to get out of bed. It's sculpture in progress. And it's by Hallie Maxwell. And she talks about how the thoughts of this woman who's lying there are becoming grooves in her body. So talk a little bit about this work and why you liked it and wanted it to be part of Panorama.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me just say that we think that Hallie Maxwell is an up-and-coming, emerging powerhouse of an artist. Her work, she does mostly ceramics, and they're all beautiful and interesting, and she speaks about her work really well. And this piece we liked because, you know, there's a lot of work out there right now that is sort of about embracing and bodies. But hers, like you said, there's the grooves, the wearing out, which we're all feeling in our day-to-day lives. We're checking our smartphones all the time, and man, I'm getting grooves from worry. But also she opened up a little hole in the spine, and it's really this very open invitation into how she is feeling. And it's also an idea that our bodies are vulnerable. You know, we feel in our general lives like we are in some ways impermeable, but this virus has taught us that we are not. And so on the beautiful curve of this body that is laying very still, there's an opening to the spine, which to me is a very personal indication of her own vulnerability. And I think we all can understand that at this point.
Do you see this time, even when the orders are lifted, as affecting Searles Place? Because of course you had events. People came, they stood shoulder to shoulder and peered over to each other, or went to a lecture. How do you see this affecting Searles Place going forward?
You know, the big answer, the real answer is I don't know. And that's one of the things that makes this so uncomfortable. How long will this take? How long can we hang on while this is happening? And can we serve artists and residents without connecting them to audience? So half of our mission is bringing national and international artists into my mom's house, where they get to be in her beautiful space that's very comfortable and inspiring and supportive to make their work. But our other half of our mission is providing an audience for them and providing these novel art experiences to Idahoans that they wouldn't receive and experience otherwise. So one of our challenges is how much can we do of just half of our mission without doing sort of the whole thing? And really, how much online programming can really substitute for in-person art experiences? So we don't know right now, which is why right now we're sinking our teeth into this Panorama project. The professional artists who are submitting, they'll be featured on our website in an online gallery where you can purchase art. Because we also want to be able to support professional artists and, you know, financially, if we can.
Well, wonderful. Before we leave, I would be remiss if I did not talk about your mother, Searle Mitchell, who I had the privilege of knowing. I think she might have been one of the first people I met 30 years ago when I moved to Boise. And she is the person who left her home to be turned into Searles Place. she herself was somebody who was quite resilient, who dealt with a lot. She had illness, and she did many 180s. Tell me a little bit about the fortitude of your own mother and how that has inspired you, and maybe what words she might have from over your shoulder.
Sure. I think that this is a moment, I'm not sure what she would say about this virus, but what people are doing is what she had to do frequently in her life. There were times when she isolated because of her illness, because out of necessity. There were times when she essentially created a place on the planet in her house in Garden City, Idaho. She knew that her ability to go out was limited, but if she made beautiful things and inspired other people to do the same in this space, they would come. And so the world came to her. And that is what Searles Place is. And it is a pleasure. And I know that she would love the idea that we get to give artists a taste of the life she built for herself. And almost every artist who leaves says, this was life-changing. I didn't understand that work and life could be so seamless. And that, yes, you might have moved across the river to Garden City before it was becoming what it is now, which people thought was crazy to move from the North End to Garden City. But that's what she had to do to get the space she wanted, and that's what she valued and prioritized. And then she built it, and people did come because you want to be around this creative, amazing energy. And she was not someone, despite her illness, who dwelled on it. She accommodated it, and her art was sometimes informed by it, sometimes not. But it was rare for her to ever stop making art and sharing it with people.
And we should say that some of her art is right behind you. Beautiful piece on the wall there.
Yes, this was one of her final series. The Boise Art Museum has a couple of them. And this is graphite on banana paper that's covered in shellac. And this is one I chose after she passed away because it is doorways and tunnels and circles and pathways. And at the time I was very pregnant when I chose this, and it reminded me of bellies and belly buttons. And this was an indication that she was feeling well when she made these, because she could work large. When she wasn't feeling well, she'd make little pieces. So this is a reminder that she did indeed have some days just full of creative energy that oozed out of her, which is, I know, what's happening to a lot of artists right now that we get to see through the Panorama Project.
Well, she's a very special person. Her legacy lives on in Searles Place, which offers long-term or short-term residencies, rather, for artists from around the country, and also events. She was an amazing person, ahead of her time, and I truly hope that events can happen once again at Searles Place, because it is a very special venue.
Thank you so much. Of course, it's special to me, but it's been amazing over the years to watch it become a special place for so many other people.
Well, thanks so much for talking with me.
It was my pleasure. Thanks so much for your interest.